And now we turn to extra depth. The high school football season may have finished a couple months ago, but here in the Borderland, it's a season that will stay with many for a long time, and not because of the achievements on the field, but rather because of the young man that lost his life. In a two-part series, ABC7 sport reporter Rachel Phillips looks into what is being done to try and prevent the tragedy of what happened to Abe Romero from happening again. This is extra depth, context, and perspective you'll see only on ABC7.
It was on this field that Abe Romero practiced on practically every day since his freshman year. His coach telling me he never missed a chance to get better at his craft.
He was just that guy. He wanted to be here, and we loved having him here. And it's weird if he was ever gone.
That weird is a feeling Coach Steve Castile and everyone involved in the Oregon Mountain Knights program has had to come to terms with over the course of this past season. On August 26th, underneath the bright Friday night lights in Deming, darkness quickly filled the stadium as 17-year-old Abe Romero collapsed on the field and experienced seizure-like activity, according to his autopsy by the New Mexico Office of the Medical Investigator. Just over 3 weeks later, Romero succumbed to his injuries in an El Paso hospital.
We just don't know what happened to Abe. I think it was him. Best guess is it was on a tackle, getting swung around and his head hitting the ground.
The report found Abe's death was the result of blunt head trauma, but couldn't clarify if the collision was with another player or with the ground.
The brain is really bathed in a cerebral spinal fluid, and so when the brain really hits another player, hits the ground, the brain sort of moves around within that fluid and it hits one side of the skull and then the other. It's called coup and contra coup, and that can cause damage to the brain, just functional damage like in a concussion, or it can cause bleeding in the brain, which is obviously more serious.
It's just scary, and it's been hard on everybody.
Abe's death was ultimately ruled an accident, but just like any tragedy, it has prompted reflection.
Our thoughts and prayers obviously go out to his family and to the Las Cruces community. That was a terrible tragedy. But you know, you do have to kind of sit back and say, hey, what are we doing? You know, how can we help prevent these kids? Because these young boys become our kids. And that's the last thing you ever want to see, is someone get injured, or, you know, God forbid someone gets, you know, killed because of it.
As a direct response to Abe's passing, Las Cruces Public Schools invested in Guardian caps for the entire district.
I think that's one of the main devices that's really helped prevent concussions.
Guardian caps are a soft shell helmet cover that Guardian says reduces impact by up to 33%. Meanwhile, a recent study with the NFL showed a more than 50% decrease in concussions while wearing the caps.
The idea behind it is to reduce impact at the point of contact, right? So you're absorbing some of the blow on impact, as well as we have independent movement from the helmet. So you're deflecting, moving some of that impact away from the head while absorbing some of the blow.
I don't care if it's 1% or 50%. You know, if we can be safer and healthier on Friday night because we're not getting hurt in practice, or, you know, and it keeps kids just healthier in general, then we're all for it. We're willing to do whatever we need to make sure we're never in this situation again.
Just this season, Guardian caps became mandated for certain NFL position groups across all 32 teams through the second preseason game. They are also worn by more than 200 colleges around the country, including UTEP and NMSU. Meanwhile, nearly 3,000 high schools in the nation also use the Guardian caps. Here in the Borderland, that includes Coronado, El Paso, Burgess, Irvin, Del Valle, Chapin, Isleta, Jefferson, Montwood, Centennial, and Mayfield, and will soon include both Las Cruces and Oregon Mountain.
If it helps one kid from getting a concussion or some kind of brain injury, it's worth it, no matter the cost.
In his first year as head coach of the Coronado Thunderbirds, Mike Pryor brought in the Guardian caps. In that year, the program saw just 3 concussions. Compare that to an average of 6.4 over the past 5 years.
I think it does keep our kids safer.
It's important to note Guardian caps at this stage are not worn in game situations, which is of course the setting Abe was in when he had that fatal collision. Tony Plagueman told me the caps shouldn't limit somebody's ability to play the game, but does think they would see some pushback simply because of the look. He did tell me getting them worn in games is something they're working towards, but in the meantime, he knows they're still playing a vital role in protecting players.
A lot of the research is showing those repetitive impacts are adding up. And so we're just trying to reduce each one of those impacts throughout the course of a season or an athlete's career.
The more concussions you get, the higher the incidence of concussions go. But one hit can really be it too. It can cause really traumatic damage to the brain with bleeding and other things that can happen.
Tomorrow we look at just how far the game has come in protecting the player over the years, and if there's more that can be done, or if there's always going to be a risk associated with stepping on a football field.